We are Sports Talk 1080 The Team Orlando on the radio. You found us here online at sportstalkflorida.com. We're Tuck and O'Neill weekdays 3 to 7 on the radio and 24/7 at sportstalkflorida.com. I'm Jerry O'Neill with Mike Tuck. We've had this discussion, but it's interesting, Mike, and I've got notes, folks. The head of an alliance which monitors diversity in the NFL expects the NFL to institute a rule where players would be penalized 15 yards for using the N-word. Mike, what's your take on that?
Well, my initial reaction is that this is the NFL with good intentions, but poor execution. I just don't see how this could work. If we're outlawing the use of one word, where does it stop? Do we outlaw the use of, the F word with Michael Sam coming into the league? Do we outlaw using curse words altogether? Does it matter how you say it or when you say it? If you break your leg, are you allowed to curse? I mean, there's too many variables here. I think the NFL has their heart in the right spot, but I just don't think it'll work.
Well, this John Wooten, who's the head of this alliance called the Fritz Pollard Alliance, he wants the N-word taken out of the NFL. Now, honestly, I've never heard that there was an issue on the field, and the more you hear about it, the more you hear that it's primarily blacks using the word in context of the game itself against other black players. I don't anticipate that the NFL is going to get all that concerned about the author of life, God, and his name in vain. I mean, if the N-word is 15 yards, how much is taking God's name in vain? What do you have to do? Take points off the board?
Right.
How about if I yell, yo mama? What does that get me? My mouth washed out? When you use the N-word, what are they going to call it? Personal foul. Dude used the N-word. What do we hang a bib on him? Pin a bib with the N-word? Not the N-word, but the letter N on his jersey?
Scarlet letter, kind of like that. No,
right.
I just think it's not a terrible idea, but it's again kind of related to like the United States. Let's say, are we outlawing it in movies, in television shows, in music? No, of course not. So I think the NFL wants to look the part. I think they want to clean up their product, but I don't think there is a march against the word. There are as many black players that use the word regularly and wouldn't want it outlawed versus the number that would rather see the word abolished altogether. So I just don't think there's an outcry for this. And you said it. I mean, taking the Lord's name in vain. I mean, where does that fall into this? How about other curses? And like I said, the F word as it relates to gays. I mean, to me, that's all fair game if we're talking about this as a subject.
What's interesting, one of the general managers, Ozzie Newsome of Baltimore, has said, he's on the league's competition committee, they're going to discuss the issue. They have already. There are meetings down in Naples, your hometown in Florida, in the first week of March, so we'll monitor a lot of that. But Newsome said the committee also talked about other slurs coming under possible new rules, and you can only imagine as what we're talking about what some of those would be, especially the gay slurs or our listed homophobic slurs, now especially since we're going to introduce Michael Sam to the NFL more than likely coming up in the NFL draft.
Yeah, I just don't think that it's a problem that needs solving. That may not sound fair, it may not sound righteous, but I don't think the NFL has an issue. I think they're trying to look proactive, but this is going down the rabbit hole, and I don't like the idea of where they're going with this.
Well, one last thing, too. ESPN did a polling, and even though it's non-scientific, there was a large sampling. When they asked, what do you make of the rule, 22% said a 15-yard penalty is not harsh enough. Again, it's not scientific. There were 60,000 people who participated. Well, that leads you to believe, as 61% said it shouldn't be a penalty at all, like you and I agree. But 1 in 5, even a little bit above 1 in 5, suggested the penalty's not strong enough. So maybe there's something there.
Well, perhaps we should start applying it to all walks of life and every job. You should be suspended from work, maybe money taken out of your paycheck if you're caught using a bad word, whatever your job is, apparently, because if it applies to the NFL, why not the guy working the drive-thru at McDonald's?
Don't suggest that to our owner's show. On occasion. All right, we're Tuck and O'Neill on air, 3 to 7 weekdays, Sports Talk 1080 The Team. Glad you're part of our online at sportstalkflorida.com.